again, everybody, and welcome to Primetime Fantasy. I'm your host, Mike Hunt. It all comes down to this, the final week of the GFL regular season. We've got a great show in store for you. Of course, we're going to be previewing all your Week 14 matchups, including a very important game of the week. Major playoff implications in that one. We're going to be addressing the Primetime Fantasy Regular Season Challenge. We're going to be announcing the winner of that challenge, and we've got a little bit of news regarding that cash prize. Also, we were very happy to have former back-to-back GFL champion Justin Holt in the GFL studios earlier this week. We spoke with him about his matchup this week and his hopes to claim that wild card spot in the playoffs. We'll get to that a little later in the program. As for right now, let's take a look at all your Week 14 matchups. It's the final week of the GFL season. Let's get right into it. Up first, it's the Commissioner versus the Dirty Birds. The Commissioner currently has the third seed in the GFL playoffs all wrapped up by winning the Lewis Division Championship. He looks to enter the GFL playoffs with a little bit of momentum, looking for a win over Eric Rossetti and the Dirty Birds, who have failed to beat their projected score for 3 straight weeks now. The number 1 team in the league, Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife, is in action in our next matchup as William May takes on Jacob Parr in the Seaman. William May currently has the number 1 playoff seed locked up. He will be taking on the wild card team next week in the playoffs. Quite a disappointing season for Jacob Parr in the Seaman. A little bit of good news this week. Joe Mixon back at practice. The Seamen are playing for pride in this one. Our next matchup looks to be a good one. It's GFL champion, the Phenomenal One, taking on Justin Laney and the Psychotic Philanthropist. The Phenomenal One, LJ, currently riding a 6-game winning streak. Lots of momentum heading into the playoffs. He has also broken the record for most points scored in a season. Justin Laney and the Psycho Phillies look to damper that momentum. They have beaten their projected score now 4 straight weeks. We could see the upset in this one. If you think you've got it bad, take a look at our next 2 teams. It's Jason Laney and Stylin' and Profilin' versus Big Yank and the Wild Hogs. Jason Laney's playoff hopes and dreams were crushed last week, and more bad news this week. AJ Green done for the season. Stylin' and Profilin' have made some big comebacks in previous years. We'll need to keep an eye on this team next year. For the Big Yank and the Wild Hogs, they have only won 1 game this season. They look to be the first ever back-to-back Team Irrelevant Award winner. Very disappointing season for the Hogs. Playoff implications in our next matchup, it's Scott Michael and the Gadgets versus Nick Marble and the Raw Dogs. Scott and the Gadgets hold on to the final wild card spot via a points tiebreaker. Currently, Scott only has a 1.5 point advantage. He's going to have to score some points and look for the win in this matchup against Nick Marble and the Raw Dogs, who are not to be overlooked. Nick and the Raw Dogs currently out of the playoff picture, but they look to bust the playoff bubble of the Gadgets. Of course, this all leads us to our final Week 14 GFL Game of the Week. It's the Shield versus the Angry Dragons. Justin Holt and the Dragons also fighting for that final wild card spot. Like I said, only 1.5 points behind Scott and the Gadgets. He does not have a very easy matchup this week as he takes on Chris Carter and the Shield, who are ranked in the top 5 for points scored on the season. However, a huge mistake this past Thursday as Chris left Tennessee running back Derrick Henry on his bench as he ran for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. If that's a sign of things to come, that is very good news for Justin Holt and the Dragons. Of course, your playoff picture looks like this. The number 1 seed has been clinched by Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife. They will be taking on the wild card team of either the Gadgets or the Angry Dragons. The 2 and 3 seeds have been clinched by GFL champion, the Phenomenal One, and GFL Commissioner Parr. Their matchup is set for Week 1 of the GFL playoffs. Final spot in the playoffs up for grabs between these 2 men, Scott and the Gadgets, Justin and the Angry Dragons going for the wild card in the GFL playoffs. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, we were happy to have Justin Holt in studios this past week. Let's take you back now to that interview. Ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyways. former two-time back-to-back champion, Justin Holt. Justin, welcome to Primetime.
Hey Mike, how's it going?
Good, good.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Very important matchups this weekend, the final week of the season, major playoff implications. Justin, how do you feel going into your matchup this weekend?
I feel like it's a must-win. I got to score a lot of points to beat Scott and make it to the playoffs.
Yes, yes. Now, of course, speaking of Scott, he has a 1.5 point advantage with the tiebreaker. What players are you going to be relying on this weekend?
Well, I'm going to be relying on my three-headed monster in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a wild card to get me to the wild card spot, Adam Humphries.
Nice, nice. That's a name I haven't heard. You just picked him up recently, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I have.
Good, good.
This last week.
That's a nice pickup. Great strategy there. Of course, now we've reached out to Scott this week. He has had no comment. We know he's watching. Is there any words you'd like to share with Scott right now?
Scott, good luck. But in the end, I'm going to win. I'm going to go to the playoffs. And I'm going to win Fantasy Mania.
Oh, man. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Holt looking for his third GFL championship. Justin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. Bold words there by Justin. Of course, at the time of this interview, we had not heard back from Scott. However, this morning, we had received words. We received a statement from Scott basically stating he will let his team do the talking. The final wild card spot of the GFL playoffs comes down to these two participants to finish off the regular season. Speaking of the regular season, we would like to congratulate GFL champion, the phenomenal one, LJ, on winning the Primetime Fantasy Regular Season Challenge. Now, of course, we've got some news regarding that cash prize. LJ has decided to use that cash prize to throw a Primetime Fantasy Regular Season Challenge celebration. So, all GFL owners and fans alike, you are invited to join us Saturday, January 26th at Sanctuary Pub in Charlotte for a GFL Primetime Regular Season Challenge celebration. More info on that event will be coming to you soon. You're not going to want to miss it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we've got for this week. Tune in next week as we have a special playoff preview edition of Primetime Fantasy. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.